So this week's episode of Platinum End, I think the best way to sum it up was it was a roller coaster of emotions. Not only do you have Revel being promoted, which I truthfully thought it was going to be like he was just going to shove a bunch of knowledge balls in his head and he would outrank the other one, but instead the idea of the first angel in history to cry for a human, something that is clearly unprecedented, and the fact that he's now the angel of emotions, able to give Saki wings, therefore allowing her to take the red arrow shot, because it's no real surprise as someone working for Metropoliman, you would assume that they're under the control of the red arrow. So you're not going to waste your one shot at basically firing something you know is useless, and they can fire something at you. So you have to use the white arrow, or at the very least try to make them flee. Saki really has only one thing she can do, and she attempted it, and clearly it worked. The surprising thing was that Hajime is actually so devoted that his love for Metropoliman is actually enough to sort of break the Red Arrow spell, which is quite interesting because as psychotic as this man is, I mean, what a family love is something he never experienced. So he's very much confused about Mikaido and like what's going on. Like, how could someone fly for that long? They have to still be in there, but we can't tell for sure until they stomp and we hear sounds. So he's so fascinated on that. So it's kind of like this weird thing where he's on one hand so confused about Mikaido, on the other hand blindly worships someone like Metropoliman. So that love and that curiosity is so interesting, and it's probably the first time in, honestly, this year, unless I'm forgetting something, that I've seen a Neko cat-girl situation be used for such an important plot device, because on one hand they already explained why her suit looked like that, because you know Mikaido's not a pervert or anything, but it was hilarious to see how they, like, in a technical term, explain why she had cat ears and a tail. But the fact that our girl actually used that to her advantage to make him fall in love, and of course, they leave us on a cliffhanger, so we don't know for sure if he did or not. But nonetheless, I mean, the fact of the matter is he's struggling to, is he going to commit to the love, or is he going to be able to spill the beans about what's going on? Because if he can bullshit, I mean, he's already annoyed Metropoliman enough that I think it very well could be if he's like, actually, nothing's the matter. I'm just, I like you so much. He would probably just get annoyed and cut communications again. I mean, he literally went to bed because he was annoyed. But if there's any indication that he was shot, he's going to be right there. And at the same time, the big thing they had up on him is that it was a 2v1 versus Mirai. And then Mirai went into the kind of like bulletproof and one-way mirror glass. So the fact that there's three there, as long as, something goes on, even if Metropoliman did come there and he's fighting for control, he's kind of useless. So there's one versus one, but then if they leave the kind of like one mirror glass maze there, it would be a 3v1 and maybe even a 4v1 depending on if he's actually going to commit to being controlled or not. I have a feeling that this man's about to get white arrowed one way or another, either because I just don't see them keeping him around after this arc. I just kind of get the impression that as tragic as his backstory might be, this man's going to get sniped by Metropoliman either because he's going to come and investigate or he's going to realize after the fact. But I have a feeling like exposing his identity so soon maybe isn't really on the cards right now, but still it's kind of hard to say because the show is kind of a roller coaster. You think it's going one way and then it takes a massive steep and you're like, holy shit, we're in completely new territory. I never thought we'd see a JoJo looking character here. So it's kind of fun in that department, but it was interesting because in terms of what you can do in this situation, not a hell of a lot, because the family's held captive, it's bulletproof glass, we see that when he tries shooting through. Mikaido is a family man, it doesn't matter if that's a trap or not, that's what he's going to do. What if there's bombs inside, right? He wants to go and take his family and try to get them out. Unfortunately, then Metropoliman comes in and then it's 2v1. What do you do? He's so annoyed with Mirai that he's like literally saying, if you leave, I don't give a shit, I can deal with you later. I'm just trying to deal with the most annoying threat right now. And the only thing he could really do was go inside. I thought it was clever because we know how fast the wings are. It was established within episode 1 or 2 that wings are fast enough to outmaneuver arrows. So if you just fly one of each, one has the kid, one has the wife, and you just fly at lightning speed, you can basically be invincible for as long as your stamina holds up. And it's an interesting concept. I never thought about it myself, but it's something curious about, like, how long could someone actually fly? And there's different factors you have to consider. Does the physical physique of the person matter? Or is it a universal thing? We know Mikaido is, he's literally dying, so his body's not in as good a shape as Mirai, and Mirai's not as good a shape as a professional athlete, right? And it seems like Mirai's holding out a bit better than Mikado, but it does seem pretty universal, almost like you can probably go as long as your willpower holds up longer than, it's different than like a 100-meter dash, right? It doesn't actually all that matter about physique, but it does feel like Mirai himself was holding out a bit better. And he was moments away from giving out Mikado, because I think they were there for almost a day straight. Like, they mentioned the fact that it was almost a half day at one point. So, I mean, they were going for a long period of time. And the idea of, like, really is a good bullshit maneuver about not making a sound, because if you're not making sounds, they can just basically assume, did you escape without us realizing it? Because they're talking about how, like, okay, we're going to make this, and if they know they're listening, it's going to make it a lot easier for us to escape. They really did bullshit. But of course, when it comes to Metropoliman, he's not a dumbass. He's realizing that they're just playing it up. Actually, at first, I thought they were just not moving at all. But then I was like, wait, that doesn't make sense because it's a one-way mirror. Like, they'd be able to see if they were there. So the fact that they literally were going at it for that long, it's a commitment. I mean, on one hand, I'm kind of curious, had Mikado took up the kid and Mirai the wife, I'm wondering, would Mikado be able to hold out a bit longer? Or was the reason he was actually getting winded sooner was because he had the heavier person? I mean, there's a lot of interesting things, but I like the idea of just someone running for their life as long as possible and hoping they drop their guard and they move, or maybe someone like Saki could come in and kind of save the day unexpectedly. I think at this point, the only way that this kind of mini arc might end in terms of, Metropoliman's follower that he really has no use for, but he's kind of useful all at the same time in this particular moment. I really would be only shocked if like a Metropoliman came in and killed Saki unexpectedly after everything. Because it kind of feels to me that given that he's fighting for control, he either has to spill the beans sort of, which forces Metropoliman there, and if he's under control, he's just going to shoot him, probably right then and there. Or he's going to get so annoyed at him thinking that he's just, worrying for no reason, that will allow them to get away, and then Metropoliman will come in and check, and then he'll be like, what the hell, where are they? And then he'll kill him there. Like, that's the only way I can see this predicament going, but this show has surprised me so much over, I think we're episode 10 now at this point, which is crazy, because, 24 episodes, we're already almost halfway through. This show has completely flown by for me. I like the unexpectedness, I like the human nature of it. I think love is something that's not touched upon as much as it probably should be in anime, especially for someone who is so ostracized and bullied and literally didn't have a loving family and friend life and just so confused about what Mikado's doing. I thought was an interesting element I really don't see anime touch upon all too much, but it's nice. I mean, this arc is actually surprisingly well done, and I really thought they would have got rid of Metropoliman by now. I'm just used to like anime having a villain or antagonist that you think is so cool, but they're just trying to immediately get rid of them to introduce the new one. But by keeping him around for almost half the anime at this point, and who knows how long he'll be there. I mean, one would think based on the opening and ending, you would think maybe he reaches the final couple of episodes, which would be really cool. But he's a great character who might infuriate you, and at other times you kind of see where he's coming from with his sister, but it really does add an extra layer to a really solid show for me. I mean, I love the show. I really, really do, and I'm excited for next Thursday as usual, but let me know your thoughts, feelings down below, your favorite moment, what do you think is going to happen next week if you don't know the source material. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.